Ladies and gentlemen, WWE Summerslam review. But hop right on into this thing. Leave a like on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. As always, subscribe, like. You can also find me on Twitter at 2sweetpod, ladies and gentlemen. So, man, it's time we hop up into this thing, man. What are we doing, man? SummerSlam was interesting, and it was up and down, up and down. I can't give it a good grade overall because there was too much down here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start at the end. We're gonna go from the main event and work our way back up. It was John Cena, it was Roman Reigns, and man, at this time we were almost an hour past runtime. And I'm like, man, let's get this over with, man. I know the viewing audience was pissed too. Nevertheless, the legend John Cena going for 17, Roman Reigns trying to hold him off. This started off very slow for my taste, man. I was almost starting to get uninterested in the match, but the tremendous near falls saved the match. And you know what? Wrestling is a funny thing, man. You know the result. John Cena is leaving. Of course, Roman Reigns is gonna win. But the near falls are so great to where you suspend belief and you think John Cena is gonna do it. That's what they did Saturday night. A great job of it. Roman Reigns picks up the victory, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm gonna be getting through these matches really quick. I'm not gonna be rambling on. Roman Reigns wins, and then we get Brock Lesnar. Here comes the pain. He stares down Roman Reigns. He has a ponytail. Roman Reigns bails, and after the show, if you didn't see it, Brock Lesnar took John Cena to Suplex City. I thought that was the funniest thing. But nevertheless, here we are. So we like Brock Lesnar now. So I'm seeing on Twitter, oh man, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman's going to be in the middle. It's going to be for the heavyweight championship or whatever championship it is. My bad. Nevertheless, we like Brock Lesnar now. Like just a few months ago, or about a year or so ago, it was, man, Brock Lesnar needs to go away. Man, I'm tired of seeing Brock Lesnar taking up spots from deserving full-time wrestlers. What happened to that? Like, what happened to Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns? Wasn't we interested in that? It's like a part-time wrestler comes along, and some, I'm not going to say all, and some wrestlers just forget about what we had going on before. Like, I don't want to see Brock Lesnar near the championship, man. I've seen it done to death, and I don't care what the storyline is. I do not want to see Brock near the title. Give me Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. Did you see? Do you remember how much the crowd popped for that? Like, they loved it when Finn Balor got involved. I loved it too. Everybody did. And now Brock is back, and it's like, oh, let's go with Brock. Hell no, man. Send Brock somewhere else. Let him be somewhere else. Moving on, we're gonna go somewhere else. Lashley versus Goldberg. And this one, every Goldberg match is a morbid curiosity event because you do not put it past Vince McMahon, do you? Every time Goldberg gets into one of these runs, it's like, oh, Spears like, I don't know. Vince McMahon might do it. And we had this match, and MVP is just tremendous, man. He gets involved. And like, you knew it wasn't going to be a long match, but don't screw the paying audience, man. Like, we get a Goldberg stoppage. That's because Goldberg, I think, blew his knee out, blew his leg out, whatever the case may be. We get a stoppage. And, like, I don't like that. All right, give us a definitive result. Like, if it's going to be a stoppage, like, let it be in UFC where the guy is giving hammer fist after hammer fist. And if you want to stop it that way, then okay. But stopping it in the way that he stopped it, the fans are pissed, man, and rightfully so. After the match, Goldbergs Son gets involved, and that sucker got a hurt lock. You love to see it. If you old enough, this is where I'm from. You old enough to jump up in an adult's face. You old enough to get punched. You old enough to get the hurt lock. But that's what he got. He ain't gonna jump up in the ring no more. Let him do it again. Shoot. Go jump up in an adult's face. Take that. Punched up to get beat down. I'm not gonna even get into Miz Morrison and Xavier Woods. We're gonna move on from that. Xavier Scott Hall homage. Well done, buddy. Moving on, Edge versus Rollins, Seth Rollins. This one came at a point to where it was like 30 minutes in the show, and the report that came out that WWE was going to end on time because the Pacquiao fight was Saturday night. And I'm sitting there like, man, it's 30 minutes left, and we got 3 matches. I'm worried that we're going to get a quick finish here. Nevertheless, what we got was a classic, the best match of SummerSlam. The entrance from Edge, the Brood entrance. I got to hear the Brood entrance music again. It was like I was an adolescent watching Raw. Nevertheless, the match was even better than the entrance, ladies and gentlemen. They put on a phenomenal match, man. And well done, guys. Well done. I really thought that this was the match that Edge needed a win. Edge got the win. And this is why I felt that way. Edge had been putting on great performance after great performance after great performance and losing. You can only have Edge lose so many times, and at some point he's going to start to lose some kind of momentum. So this was the perfect opportunity. Seth Rollins could take the loss and still be Seth Rollins. Edge needed to win here over a marquee opponent at a marquee event. Job well done. Tremendous matchup. I would slate it one of the top 3 matches of the entire weekend. Job well done. Speaking of job well done, Charlotte Flair, Nicky ASH, and Rhea Ripley. Man, this came at a point of the pay-per-view where I said, these ladies, like this pay-per-view was in need of saving drastically. I'm about to get into that as I go on through the review. Nevertheless, these ladies put on a show. Like, this was either the second or the third best match of the week of SummerSlam, excuse me. And Charlotte hit a corkscrew moonsault that was just lovely. You just love to see Charlotte, one of the best female workers there has ever been. But at the end of the day, Charlotte picks up the win with the figure 8. Nicky ASH, you're a champion, loses on the go-home show on Raw. And she taps out to Charlotte Flair. And I just want to say, why? Why, in the immortal words of Bobby Boucher, why? Like, what are we doing here? Why even take the title off of Charlotte in the first place? Okay, like, what was the point in having Nicky cash in? Like, you should have just kept the title on Charlotte. And so, have Nicky cash in. She has this superhero gimmick. And like, now she's dead to me. Like, the crowd started to turn against it a little bit, but you gotta give Nicky a primetime win at the big event at SummerSlam. Sometimes you can get a big win and it could give you a ton of momentum going forward. Nicky needed that win much more than Charlotte. I needed the 11th millionth title reign. Like, they gonna keep going until she passes Ric Flair. But Charlotte doesn't need the title, man. Like, that's where I'm at on this thing. I don't hate Charlotte Flair. I just, like, I hate the way that they book her. Like, what was the point in giving her those 2 title reigns, man? Moving on. Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre. This one was a match that suffered. Like, we kept hearing that, are you going to get some short matches tonight? To which they went an hour over. What are we doing here? Jinder Mahal, McIntyre got 4 minutes at best. Drew McIntyre picks up the victory. I really felt like this was a point where Jinder Mahal needed the victory much more than Drew McIntyre needed it. Nevertheless, Drew McIntyre wins. And I'm just not feeling this feud. Like, if they want to move on, to which if I'm a betting man, WWE is going to do the thing where they rematch it to death throughout the fall. Nevertheless, I think they need to move on here. I am not interested in it. Speaking of things I'm not interested in, Bianca Belair. It was supposed to be Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is out, and as it would turn out, WWE knew that Sasha Banks was going to be out for a week, man. Like, I understand, like, at house shows, card is subject to change. But at pay-per-view events, at the third biggest pay-per-view of the year for you, you got to let the fans know what's up, man. It's people that are there specifically to see Sasha Banks. She is that big of a star. So, like, when you just tell them, oh, Sasha Banks can't be here, and you don't give them any kind of explanation beyond that, that sucks, man. Like, the people paid all that money. Nevertheless, Carmella comes down and it's like, it's going to be Bianca versus Carmella. Then after that, the man, Becky Lynch, comes down to a thunderous pops, one of the loudest pops you'll hear. And it's like, okay, Becky's here, Sasha's not here, Becky's here, okay, let's do something here. So we get Bianca Belair, what I thought was going to be a triple threat, but we get Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. So it's on. So instantly, you have the second biggest match on your show going right now, behind John Cena and Roman Reigns. Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, that is a dream match, a literal dream match. So the match starts and Becky Lynch hits a Uranagi, and the match is over within 26 seconds. What the hell? Like, Smokey, I ain't the smartest man in the room, or I ain't the smartest man in the world, but having Bianca Belair lose in 26 seconds ain't the smartest thing to do. Like, you spend all that time building up Bianca Belair. You had to win the Royal Rumble. You had to win the WrestleMania match against Sasha Banks, for which they main evented WrestleMania. And you have her hold the title all the way through SummerSlam, only to have her lose in a squash match, man. Like, there's let's see what happens first crowd up there. And I'm just here to say, hell with what happens first. Sasha Banks, you got to explain to me why, Bianca Belair lost in a squash when there was so many more ways to go about this. Like, you could have did a triple threat match with Carmella. Becky Lynch takes the pins, Carmella, she takes the fall, and then we can set up something like that. Bianca Belair could come out and say, you never pinned me, I want my rematch, so on and so forth. Like, there are so many ways. You could have Bianca Belair versus Carmella. Have her beat Carmella. Becky Lynch comes down, makes it apparent that she wants the title. There are so many more ways you could have went about this, but instead, WWE, man, it's like when they get $1 million in their hands, they say, look, like, how can we screw this up? Like, and when it comes to wrestling storylines, like, you got Becky Lynch coming back, and that was a slam dunk. The crowd is gonna go nuts for her. And it's like, how do we screw that up? We have her squash Bianca Belair, someone that the fans love. Now, this is a no-win situation going forward. What are you going to do? Like, who's going to lose? You can't have Becky Lynch lose her title reign in like a month or two, because what's the point in putting the title on her? You don't want to have Bianca Belair taking loss after loss after loss, because what's the point of having her win the Royal Rumble? And what is the point of her main eventing WrestleMania, building her all the way up, only to lose at SummerSlam and lose some more? So they have put themselves into a corner. Classic WWE. Moving on, we have the Usos, we have the Mysterios, and everybody on the timeline on Twitter was saying, Diamond's about to turn, baby. He about to turn on his daddy. Not Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio Jr. So what we got was a pretty good match. The crowd was into it. The Usos pick up the win. Dime does not turn, and this is my fear. Like, I just talked about this when I think it was Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal. My fear is that we're just going to keep seeing the Usos versus the Mysterios. God knows that we have going on SmackDown, and I can't give you a certain count right now, but it's like every week I see some kind of Uso versus Mysterio singles match going on, and it's like, oh God. Like, the matches are good, but at some point you just get tired of seeing it. And I'm sick and tired of this feud, the Usos versus the Mysterios. The matches now, entertaining matches, the crowd on their feet. But it's time to move on. It is time to move on. And I am going to move on to Sheamus versus Damian Priest. And you know what? I picked Damian Priest to win this match. This came at a point where another spot to where a match needs to happen and the crowd needed to get into it, because the crowd was starting to simmer down a little bit. Nevertheless, we had a crazy spot in this match, man. Priest goes up for a springboard, catches a bro kick to the face, And this was a hotly contested match, one of the most underrated match of the night for my taste, just in my opinion. Damian Priest picks up the victory, and I gotta say, I picked him to win, but I was pretty surprised that they went with him. Like this felt like one of those times where Sheamus was gonna get the win, and the feud continues. But an excellent call by WWE here. Damian Priest needed some kind of momentum after feuding with The Miz and Morrison for God knows how long, since WrestleMania. He gets the win, and we'll see how this turns out. Moving on, we had Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie, and this was the worst match of the entire card. And here's why. The whole match revolved around that stupid Lily the doll. And what are we doing here? Alexa Bliss has totally lost momentum. The whole Eva Marie thing is just dead on arrival because of the stuff they are doing with Piper or Doudrop or whatever you want to call her. Like, she deserves it. Piper deserves so much better. Alexa Bliss picks up the victory, and Doudrop says, and the loser of the match is Eva Marie. And hopefully this is Piper getting her chance to move on and do her own thing. That's just me. Going to the last match of the night, which was the first match of the night, RK Bro versus AJ Styles and Omos. The crowd was buzzing. They love them some RK Bro. I don't. No, it is what it is. Screw Matt Riddle. Nevertheless, the match was a good match. And this was another one where I picked RK Bro to win, but I was surprised that they went with him. RK Bro, get your win. Randy Orton hit the RKO out of nowhere, and we have new WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. And I won't say I'm excited, but I'm interested to see where they go with all of this. RK Bro picks up the dub. And that is it for the SummerSlam review, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't want to hold you for too long. Oh man, this had way too many downs for me to call it a good pay-per-view in my estimation. Nevertheless, there were some bright spots from it. Let me know what you think, whether that's on Twitter at 2SweetPod or at OMG, or excuse me, at 2SweetPod or at Corey B Elite on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. Let me know all of your